Hey everybody, how you doing? Michael Fleischner here, talking about how to get started as a freelancer. This is one of the more common questions I get. In fact, this past weekend I was talking to some friends and new friends, and they asked me, "Hey, if I that sounds interesting what you do. If I want to get started, how do I become a freelancer? How do I get started?" And there are a couple of answers to this, but the way that I like to answer it is start with your why and how. The why is, why do you want to freelance? Is it because you want to break free from your corporate job? Is it because you've got a skill and you feel like you can make a difference in the world? Whatever that why is, think about that and get clear on that, and then focus on the how. The how is more of, am I going to do it part time? Am I going to do it full time? Do I only want one client? Do I want 100 clients? Will it just be me in the freelance business, or will I work with other freelancers to deliver services? And thinking about all of these things is extremely important before you jump in. And when I say jump in, I mean before you go naming your freelance business and getting a website and doing all of these things, you really want to think through the business. And I say that because it's a mistake that I made early on. I wasn't quite sure what direction I wanted to go in. I named a business, I even built a website, then I changed my mind. I had to rebuild the website and change the name and register something else. And meanwhile, I'm spending money and I'm getting frustrated. And it all could have been avoided if I just took out a pen and a sheet of paper and wrote down why I wanted to do this and how I planned to get there. There's also the what, which is, what are you going to deliver? And Simon Sinek, who's an author and really just an amazing speaker, wrote a book on what's your why. That's where that comes from. And there's some great videos out there where he talks about how Apple positioned their business around the why, and that's been transformative for them. I think it's a good model. If you guys are interested, jump over there on YouTube and check it out. But the goal ultimately to start a freelance business is to really think about why you're doing it, what you're going to deliver, and how you're going to deliver it. And when you think those things through, again, taking that piece of paper, that pad, that notebook, and that pen, you're going to want to write all of those things down. And once you do that, once you really spend, let's say, 20, 30 minutes focusing on that without distractions, then what I want you to do is I want you to put it away. I want you to literally put it in your desk drawer or, plop it down on a table where you're not going to see it for the next day or two, because you want those things to marinate. You want to continue to think about them and get clarity. And I want you to go through that revision process 2 or 3 times until it feels right. And even if I come up with an idea, I don't act on it right away, contrary to what Tony Robbins wants us all to do, which is act on it immediately. What I do is I write it down. Maybe that is the action, to be fair to Tony, but I'll write it down, but then I'm going to sleep on it because I've got a lot of ideas, but I don't want to execute on every single idea I have. There's just not enough time or hours in the day. So you're going to want to think about that. And once you do, then what you're going to want to do is really focus on both the business setup, which is registering your name. You do that with your state business office. You can do that online. You're going to want to get your URL. You're going to want to set up email. There are some technical things that you're going to want to do so that when you mention your company's name, think about how someone is going to find you online. And that's going to include, obviously, the website, maybe a Google My Business listing, and some basic things like that. So that's going to be one component of getting started as a freelancer. And then the other is the service you're going to offer. What is it? At what price? And that requires some work. I'm going to want you to research that online, find out what other people are charging, because at the end of the day, you can charge a lot less than the competitor or a lot more than the competitor or exactly what the competitor charges. And each of those things says something different to the buyer. A Rolex watch, does it really tell time better than a Timex? Probably not. but they've told a story around that watch, and it has been positioned as a prestige brand. So they made a conscious choice to do that. So you're going to have to really think about, how do you want to position your brand? Do you want to be the cheapest solution out there and just do a high volume? Or do you want to be really competitive with whatever the market rate is? These are all things you're going to have to think about and research and spend time on. And again, take that pad out and write it down. And ultimately, you're going to want to simplify your packages that you're offering or providing as a service. So these are all things that I'll go into more depth as I do more videos around freelancing, but I wanted to share that with you today, and also ask you to give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Definitely subscribe to the channel here, comment below, and we definitely want you to tune in for additional videos. All right, so that's it today, and we'll see you next time.